When I started my journey in dentistry, the idea of owning multiple practices sounded exciting. The vision of building a dental empire with thriving offices and a steady stream of income was very enticing. But let me tell you, the reality of running multiple practices is far from glamorous. It comes with challenges that most people don't anticipate, and I've learned these lessons firsthand. In this video, I want to share the truth about managing multiple dental practices and why for most dentists, owning 15 offices isn't the dream it's made out to be. If you're considering expanding, listen closely to these realities before you make your decision. Number 1, difficulty finding and keeping good doctors. One of the biggest challenges of managing multiple practices is hiring and retaining good doctors. Here's the tough reality. Only a small percentage of dentists practicing today are truly profitable as associates. You might assume that finding competent, hardworking doctors is as simple as offering a competitive salary, but you'll quickly discover otherwise. Most associates you hire will lack the drive to improve or progress. They're not motivated to work hard or develop their skills, and many don't practice efficiently. Slow clinical speed, subpar communication with patients, and a high number of redos are all common issues. These shortcomings don't just hurt profitability, they damage the patient experience and the reputation of your practice. I assumed that having good clinical skills and the ability to do a filling without sensitivity or a poor patient experience was normal. I thought being able to talk with patients and be personable was normal. I thought any dentist could do these things. I was wrong. I have been amazed at how many dentists struggle with these skills. Even if you find a great associate, retaining them is another battle. Dentists have options, and unless you offer exceptional opportunities and a strong culture, they're likely to move on to greener pastures. This constant turnover creates instability in your practice and increases stress for you and your team. Every time a dentist leaves a practice, it is very expensive and hard on your practice. The second issue is cash flow problems. Cash flow is one of the most common issues in multi-practice ownership. Adding new practices is incredibly capital intensive. You're investing in equipment, renovations, marketing, and hiring, all of which require significant cash up front. Here's the harsh truth. If you can buy a practice, put in associates, and comfortably cover all your expenses while paying your loan already, you're pretty far ahead of the curve. For most, this isn't the case. Most dentists end up subsidizing practices for quite a while for them to stabilize and get established. Even single practice owners will tell you that cash flow fluctuates throughout the year. When you own multiple practices, these fluctuations are magnified. In a single practice, if collections are low one month, you might take a smaller paycheck to balance the books. But when you're managing associates, they still expect their full salary regardless of cash flow. This creates a significant delta between your revenue highs and the lows, making cash flow management far more stressful. Third is lower profit margins. Owning more practices doesn't mean higher profits. In fact, the opposite is often true. The more locations that you manage, the more your attention is split. You're less involved in each practice, and profitability tends to decrease as a result. The reality is your associates likely won't outperform you in terms of production or profitability. They're not as invested in the success of the practice as you are, and their performance will reflect that. As your involvement in day-to-day operations diminishes, so does your ability to directly influence profit margins. This dilution of attention and effort can lead to a gradual decline in your overall profitability. In fact, it most often does. Number 4, staff turnover. Managing staff turnover is challenging enough in a single practice. Multiply that by 15 locations and it becomes a very overwhelming task. If your practice grows, employees who were with you in the early days often feel disconnected. What started as a small, tight-knit team can start to feel corporate. And let me tell you, once the corporate vibe sets in, it's hard to shake. Employees begin to feel undervalued and less important, leading to higher turnover rates. In today's labor market, keeping your practices fully staffed is already very difficult. Add in the complexities of managing multiple locations, and it becomes a significant burden on your growth and your stress levels. The more practices you own, the harder it becomes to maintain a consistent and positive workplace culture. The 5th item is making less money. Here's the part no one likes to talk about. Owning multiple practices often means making less money, at least initially. When you own a single practice and work full-time clinically, you're likely earning a steady, comfortable income. Once your practice expands, that changes. The moment you step away from full-time clinical work, your pay decreases. Suddenly, your production is no longer covering the overhead of a single practice, but is being used to offset the expenses of multiple locations. It takes time and a certain number of successful practices to reach the point where your equity and profits make up for the income you've sacrificed. Many dentists owning 3 or 4 practices results in less income than running one well-optimized location. The financial rewards of multi-practice ownership, they come from long-term equity and the eventual sale of the group, or when the loans are paid off, which will allow increased take-home pay. However, for you to pay off your 10-year loan, you have to keep this whole machine running for 10 years, which is no small feat. Most multi-location groups do not last anywhere long enough. While a group sale can be lucrative, it's far from guaranteed. To get maximum money, you have to have a good business that is stable, and the larger you get, the harder that is to make happen. Owning multiple dental practices might sound like the ultimate goal, but the reality is far more complicated. From the difficulty of finding and retaining good doctors, to the stress of managing cash flow, lower margins, higher staff turnover, and reduced personal income, the challenges often outweigh the rewards. I'm not saying that it's impossible to succeed in multi-practice ownership. Many dentists build thriving groups and enjoy financial and professional benefits. But for most, the road is far tougher than expected. Before you expand, take a hard look at your goals, resources, and expectations. Understanding that the path to owning 15 practices isn't always the better option. Now, if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Are you considering multi-practice ownership, or are you happy focused on one location? Now, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.